Welcome to my workshop. My name's Darren, and today we're going to have a look at these roller stands built by a company called Tough Built, or at least that's their trademark. So why would you want an infeed or outfeed support in the first place? Well, quite simply, it makes cutting long objects or long pieces of timber on your table saw a lot safer. So when you first come in, if your wood is hanging over the edge, you have to support the wood here so it doesn't tip, which means you less one hand while you're feeding it over the saw. And as you come out the other side, you start to get tipping the other way, which means you've got to try and hold it back. And as the end of your timber gets close to the blade, that becomes extremely dangerous to do because you need to have your hands there to stop it from tipping, and then that forces you to have your hands near the blade. So having an outfeed support, and that's what this is on the end here, that's my little outfeed support, helps reduce the tipping and therefore making things safer. One of the potential dangers here is that the wood might bind on the blade and shoot the piece back at you and hit you right in the, let's say, guts. It depends how tall you are in relation to the table. This piece of timber would not hit me in the guts, it would hit me a little bit lower and a little bit more painfully than that if it shot it backwards. So another reason. And so these rollers come into play. If you don't have permanent infeed and outfeed support, the rollers will do the job. I don't have room for a big outfeed table, so having rollers that fold up and go away when I don't need them is ideal. Let's have a look at it. All right, let's have a look inside the box and see what we get. So we've got some assembly instructions, all pretty straightforward. So in this bag we've got all the nuts, bolts, washers, an Allen key, good old Allen key, and a locking handle. Here's the actual head of the unit, the actual roller. All right, let's put it together. So there it is, that's the Tough Built roller stand all assembled. Let's align it with the edge of the table. What we're going to do now is just align the roller with the actual workbench so it's the correct height. So we're going to make sure that the legs are fully apart. We've got a piece of timber on the top to use as a guide, and up we come. So we want to just hit it like that. Oop, not like that. We don't want it lifting the wood off the table, just supporting it so it can't sag. That's not enough. Okay, first con with this thing is this doesn't go on particularly square and it's easy to knock off square too, even with it all tightened up. That's a bit of a disappointment. So what are the pros and cons of the Tough Built roller stand? Well, let's start with the pros. It has a nice, easy, quick height adjuster. So you can adjust it to the height of whatever it is you're using. So say for example I was to take this away from the saw, I could then use it as an outfeed perhaps on the jointer, and no doubt will at some point. Another pro is the roller itself spins really nicely, it doesn't stick, so that's good. And I think the third pro, of course, is that it's really cheap. I paid about $29 for this. Another pro is that it folds up nice and easily and small, so as you can then put it away while it's not being used and then grab it out again next time you need it. Or you could even hang it on the wall, which I might end up doing. Now, cons. The biggest con, I think, is that this doesn't really sit square, and no matter how much you tighten it up, you can always move it It's not a big deal, but it's just something you need to be aware of when you're setting it up against the side of the table. You don't want one end too high and lifting your wood on a tilt. So you've just got to be aware of that. So if, for example, you have a setup like this, and as I've got here, your roller is at a skew to the table, you can see what's happening as I roll the roller. See, it's pushing the timber away from the fence. And for that reason, you really do need your roller parallel. So as you're not fighting the actual roll of the roller, or even tilted towards the fence ever so slightly. Not too much, because then of course you'll have binding issues. And this is where stands with ball bearings are much better, because you're not limited to one direction of travel with the ball bearing. The wood can skate in any direction, and all it does is support it. Not a huge issue, just be aware of it and keep it parallel. Okay, so that's a quick look at the Tough Built S200 roller stand. Overall, I think it's a pretty good stand. It does the job well, it folds up nice and easily, and it's very cheap. Hopefully that's been of some use. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.